The first telegraph led to the invention of the very first telephone. After the telephone, it led to the mobile telephone, and yet you most likely have one of those in your pocket right now. All of this is thanks to Samuel F.B. Morse and Ezra Cornell. The very first telegraph message was sent from Washington, D.C. all the way to Baltimore. So Baltimore received the very first telegraph message as D.C. sent it, as you can see above. Samuel F.B. Morse invented the very first telegraph. Samuel F.B. Morse got help from Ezra Cornell, though. So they both have an equal part of inventing the very first telegraph. The message sent from Washington to Baltimore was sent on May 24th, 1844. After a little time, the first telegraph message was sent. The Western Telegraph Company was formed. After the Western Telegraph Company was established, their goal was to put more telegraphs in more places, and they did. Some things that caused the very first telegraph message to be sent were just a few things. Morse had a very wrong idea about putting telegraph wires underground. But Ezra Cornell saw the flaw and said, hey, we should put them above ground. When they put them above ground, it led to the telegraph actually working. Morse made his own language called Morse code so they could communicate through the wires. With the language, now they just sent electromagnetic pulses through the wires to get to the other telegraphs. The telegraph machine used electromagnetic pulses to communicate with other telegraphs. But besides the electromagnetic pulses, they had to make a language. That language was called Morse code. It was invented in 1832. Back in the 1800s, talk was pretty slow. It took months to talk to each other. Now it could just talk in minutes. Morse had Congress's backing to say that he was the original inventor. Samuel F.B. Morse got help from Ezra Cornell to make the telegraph work. The first message was sent on May 24th, 1844. The telegraph helped nominate James K. Polk and Henry Clay, respectively. The telegraph was the biggest invention since the printing press, and the telegraph made the Western Telegraph Company. The telegraph's wires were above ground, not below. That's why telephone wires today are above ground, not below. It set the stepping stone to form the phone, later the mobile phone, all invented by Alexander Graham Bell. The electromagnetic pulses can be shortened down to EMP. But the telegraph doesn't exactly work the way that you think EMPs do. The telegraph works fairly simple. The telegraph's receiver opens and closes, and when it opens and closes, it releases an electromagnetic pulse. And when it releases the electromagnetic pulse and it reaches the receiver, it makes a magnetic field. And from the magnetic field, you get a mechanical effect. Thus, the noise from the mechanical effect can be simplified down using Morse code to understand what another person is saying. The very first telegraph message caused major change in the 1800s. Travel very slow. It could almost take weeks to months to talk. It provided the stepping stone for the telephone and the later mobile phone for Alexander Graham Bell. There's probably a phone in your pocket right now. The first telegraph message is the biggest invention since the printing press invented by Gutenberg.